Tonight's event is sponsored by the State of Minnesota Arts Board. We have a wonderful grant from them, and they help us to bring arts to our rural communities. I'm going to read a little bio for Erin. Most of you know her, so I'm so glad you're here, Erin, and her friend Christy and Marlys. They're all going to do some readings tonight. And Erin will have her books here. So I'm going to try to read these with my Target glasses. So Erin Lynn Marsh is a poet living and working in Bemidji, Minnesota. She is the author of Disability Isn't Sexy, which was nominated for a 2019 New Mexico Arizona Book Award. Her work has also been nominated for a Pushcart Prize. Her work has appeared in Post Road Magazine, Sugar House Review, Paper Darts, Emery's Journal, wordgathering.com, and the anthology Hers, Poets Speak, While We Still Can, Volume 2. Erin was a 2019-2020 Region 2 Arts Council Artist Fellowship recipient and was previously awarded 2 individual artist grants. And you can find her online at erinlynnmarsh.com. Christy's going to be first. Okay, I'm going to step aside.
I'm going to read some poems here, starting with a couple love poems. Love related. You don't come. It was the dried flowers. You saw a sign that I was still clinging to what was dead and beautiful. I was in winter. I was still dreaming of spring. You disappeared, wretched mirror, reflecting brilliance of love once found and still hoped for. I would see you on trains sometimes. I was chasing a shadow. Eventually, I learned to look away. That stillness in you, I am still looking for in myself. I want sometimes for you to empty your pockets of books, quit your long walks, drop your wanderings, and come to my door. Don't come empty-handed. Bring the envelope, bring the worn paper with the words, scrawled in blue or black or red. I don't care the color, only let it be that one thing I need, the answer to my question. Do I wait? Shall I wait? Will he come? This next one is called Blackbird. Blackbird. I am swimming the maze of your body, looking for a way in to your inner soul, to find the crack where you break and your secret spill across the floor, the light showing us what we are, no more, no less. I am tired of my traveling and yet not tired. I am ready to go on, but I want to bring you now, like my home in a shell on my back. A house may come, but the home we have already, on a blanket, on a floor, in a car, in a storm, in a look across a room. Take me now, take me, I'm begging you. Why is it so easy and yet so hard to trust? Too much time to think and we might take it all apart, dismantle the thing which elegant simplicity has built by organic means all around. This is what is meant for a man to leave and to cleave. Your head belongs upon this breast. The sweet, smooth expanse of you is to enfold me and keep me safe. No one else need understand. It is we who keep this vigil. It is we who scan the darkness and hide this jewel where it can't be found. Tell me, love, where did you come from? I blinked, and where there was no one, now there is you. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arrive. I obviously stole that last bit. The Riches of Morning. bleeding, your dirty woolen sweater pressed up against my side, your head butting my hand. You are the only one with need of me. I am 1,000 miles from anyone, and there's no secret flying that I will be a king. No one is thinking about me, and the only thing filling me is this silence running like an underground stream. The glory of this valley is crushing my heart. The sun comes up over that hill and floods in. I am drowning in a sea of sheep and light and beauty. Years from now, they will sing songs about me. Years from now, there will be stories, books filled with them, women and children to hold, court to hold, celebrations and matters of state to discuss. I will be a hero, and they will say, look at his glory. Be that as it may, be that as it may. I will never be richer than this. When I am old, when I am losing my mind and youth and age mingle together in that story where every part clings to every other, I will ask for my guitar. I will remember this day in the shimmering heat, a sudden breeze that licked the sweat from my brow, when I rose to greet the day with song. My heart is steadfast, O God. I will sing and make music with all my soul. Awake, harp and lyre. I will awaken the dawn. And that last part I also stole from Psalm 108. The general good is the next one. And this is, it's Easter week, so it seemed appropriate. Like a virgin into a volcano, you were offered up to keep the Caesar's wrath from falling. Like so many pagan nations in which innocents die to keep the masses alive, even if they keep their chains, you fell so the machinery of society could continue to turn. And the waves your voice commanded not to be still were efficiently ironed out for the general good. But you were the general. You were the good. This next one, I was watching one of those gospel movies, and a lot of them I'm not that into because sometimes they're a little cheesy or not well made. But this one, there was one scene that stuck with me, and it was after Jesus had died and Thomas was doubting and he's saying, unless I could see him and touch it, like I'm not going to believe. And Jesus shows up and says, okay, touch me. And when he reaches out his hand in this particular film, there you see like through to the other side of the hole in his wrist. And then when Thomas reaches and his thumb goes and covers the hole entirely. And there was something in that moment that inspired this poem. It's called Thomas the Bride. My thumb pressed to the wrist hole, no one else alive wears but you, like a wedding ring. My chest spasmed in the moment, like one whose lungs are emptied of air and blood. I felt cold, as if I were hanging naked in the evening sky, hundreds of eyes tearing at me. There were muffled sobs, anguished wails that wouldn't stop, laughter, gilding the edges of the pain, framing it, as if there could have been a limit to it. This love that was expanding until I couldn't breathe for love. I was a breathless bridegroom, gasping love, fleeting love, drooling love. I was an idiot, and I couldn't help it. I could see her. No one else has seen her like this. She can't even see it herself. And it could take 1,000,000 years for her to walk this aisle, to collapse into my arms. But it wouldn't be anything to me. She hardly knows I exist. She has difficulty picturing us. She is only beginning to write my last name with her first on table napkins and scraps. I let your wrist drop. We both look as if it had rained, our faces streaked with tears. No one will write this in any book. Now I have seen me with your eyes, and you forgiving blindness. I have hardly known you exist. This next one is called A Message via Sparrow. We try to forget our dead efficiently and get on with the business of living. We try to remember them too well and cripple or whitewash our actual memories. G.K. Chesterton once said, "Our sharpest memories are those that come to us as if from across an abyss, the ones which startle us and have not suffered the attrition of the passing years." Uncle Mike, may I live in such a way that honors your memory. May I do so on occasion consciously, on others unconsciously. And let my heart catch, every year or so, snag on a memory so sharp and clear, I have to hold it close for a moment or two. I imagine you in heaven writing the opposite poem about us. They say there is no sorrow there, and maybe it is the knowing that makes you patient, or the timelessness that makes patience a meaningless word. But if we can grieve the Spirit of God, and you and I are made in His image, it seems to me that one might sorrow on our behalf. One would not forget those left on the other side of the great divide. Where you are, every tear gets wiped away, and you are told the end of the story. We here can hardly imagine that pain can end. We are happy yours dead. Did you hear about the iris? If not, I'll tell you when I get there. I plan to live until 100, so it will be another 61 years in a few months. No time at all for you. See you soon then. See you soon. This next one is called Updraft. High and still not high enough, she flies and cannot find the updraft. You were changed when you left that cliff. It sinks into the sky while you measure the speed of the ground, the swiftly tilting planet. Is it the curve of the smile you glimpse or the ache of the weight of air? The earth now seems like an old friend you've never seen with perspective, telling a story in the width of the head of a pin. You pitch and plummet and soar. You tire, the trees reach up to catch you, and when they do, you realize they are not your friends anymore. Old Man Arthur. What is outside, wild and difficult to control, has horned its way inside. Masses of ice transgressing their way through basement walls. One in the corner protruding in so many directions you've taken to hanging socks on it. You showed me once, and after my curiosity would wake me, and I would sneak in with my tiny cat, photographing tiny promontories and delicate crystal formations. Afterward, we'd tiptoe up the stairs and out the door, hoping you were unaware. Last time you caught me, but you were glad to see me, glad not to be alone, dungeon filling with encroaching ice. You expressed your concern with the great tree growing up through the house that you could not climb, with its many branches, more inexplicable nature winding its way through the place you thought you would be safe from its reach. I attempted to climb it for you. I was hanging upside down when I fell out of sleeping and saw you no more, except in my mind's eye, where you are still worried, pacing the floors, with no one to visit, while the great sea laps at your door. And I'm ending with a song called Peter's Lullaby. I'm kissing your tears like I could drink up your sorrow, keep you from drowning in this like of wounded dreams. I want you to know, dear, you can make it till tomorrow. The world is dressed in shadow now, and nothing's what it seems. Never fear, darling, I am here. My arms will be strong enough for the both of us tonight. Never fear, darling, I am here. We'll rock softly across the water till the morning light. Lightning strikes and you were wincing. Thunder claps, you close your eyes. Waves rise up and you were sinking. I can hear your cries. Never fear, darling, I am here. My arms will be strong enough for the both of us tonight. Never fear, darling, I am here. We'll rock softly across the water to the morning light. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My first one is called Harvest Notes. I live in the country, and you will be able to tell that by what you hear from me. Harvest Notes. A star by a canning recipe means it's great. Tuscan zuppa, fermented dill pickles, bright red sriracha. Remember to use a 2.5% brine for fermenting cucumbers and peppers. 5% is too salty. Freeze dehydrated vegetables at least a week before powdering into savory spices. For strawberry jalapeno jam, measure 4 cups of sugar instead of 7. I tell my husband that I've learned so much: when to push ahead, when to back off, how to quiet the mind, how to let go of what is lost. I've learned to let love simmer, ferment in flavor-enhancing brine. Why so late? Why now, when wrinkles come, bones stiffen, and the chill of winter hovers? I worked in a factory for many years before I went into nursing, and one thing that really bothered me is that we'd go down in the lunchroom and there'd be all these magazines with, expensive shoes and recipes, stuff you can't even pronounce, and just, it was like, this doesn't apply to us working people here. Why are they even here? So I determined that someday I'm going to write something about that. And I did, and it's called In Vogue. Where is the magazine for the woman whose hard hat doesn't fit quite right on her head, or whose raw hands hurt, assaulted by unforgiving factory lines? Where is the magazine for the woman whose heart grieves for her children in daycare? Hours drag, the clock antagonizes while she piles lawnmower parts on a moving belt, wondering who holds her child when he cries for mommy. Where's the magazine for the woman who scrubs the tub, puts new towels out, makes the bed, places the sign, your room has been cleaned by Carmen, enjoy your stay? Where's the magazine for the woman whose paycheck doesn't cover the bills, buys clothes from Goodwill, Salvation Army shoes, sale-priced furniture with a scratch? Where's the magazine for the fatigued woman who feeds, washes, and lifts patients, or for the woman whose legs ache hour after hour, scanning groceries with a smile? Where's the magazine for the woman whose mind ferociously craves knowledge, feels insane from boredom, unending production lines, meaningless benchmarks, time clock betrayals, trapped inside factory walls, surviving to remind self to be thankful for work, knowing life could be more? And I have chickens, so we have to have something about chickens. This is called chicken yoga. It had to be done. The chicken coop is not self-cleaning. offensive ammonia smells, disgusting manure piling up under the roost, winter threatening, and no volunteers. It had to be done. Rubber boots to my knees, brown work gloves, a pitchfork, and screeching resistance from 10 rust-colored hens, 1 rooster, 2 guineas. It had to be done. I bent and stretched like downward-facing dogs to scoop under the soiled straw and pick up chunks of matted manure, then suspend my breath until I reached the compost pile and flung. It had to be done. A warrior's stance allowed me to reach into corners, humming little mms as thoughts of mice leaping out from under dried straw threatened to paralyze me. And when it was done, cobwebs removed, fresh-smelling straw on the floor, waters replenished, I bowed to the chickens, thanking them for their daily egg supply. Then I bowed to the compost pile, now a smelly mass that will convert hay, straw, manure, garden and food waste into rich, dark soil to feed the plants that we eat. It was done. I was ready for Savasana's deep relaxation pose, a shower, and a Coke on ice. And here is dining with Scott Kelly. He, with his beef stew flattened into a square pouch, and I, with cheese-covered bread toasted to a light brown. He warms his in a space station suitcase for 20 minutes. My Cuisinart toaster takes exactly 1.5 minutes. No microwave, I wonder? As he pushes a button to fill a pouch of dehydrated asparagus with hot water, then waits. My tea is served in a fine china teacup, pink with gold edges. His plastic pouch of lemonade, which he says is a little sweet, is rehydrated with water brought in from supply shuttles or reprocessed urine. He reports that the urine water is clear and better tasting than the water shuttled in. His dining room doesn't have an Ashley dining set like mine or even a chair, but rather a metal counter the size of 4 placemats. He stands, spoons, and catches flying food into his mouth while NBC Nightly News, beamed from Earth, blares and bounces off equipment-filled walls. A Russian floats by, untethered. A year is a long time, I think, sipping my non-urinated tea in silence. And then I was a healthcare nurse for many years, and this one is called Drapes, and you'll understand why. He's in there. You know he's in there. You can tell because the drapes are open. You knock on the door. His smile greets you. Your return smile is genuine. You take his vital signs, listen to his heart, review his medications. He tells you he feels pretty good, but he needs Tylenol every morning for the shingles headache he's had since the kidney transplant years ago. You laugh together about the time the pharmacy refilled Tylenol with Tylenol PM instead, how he couldn't figure out how his exhausted state until you checked his medications. Then you pack your stethoscope, finish charting, and say, "See you next week." You lightly touch his aged shoulder on the way out the door. The day the drapes were drawn, you knocked on the door, you entered the room, his breathless body on the kitchen floor. Blessed assurance. Suppose you believed your mother, so you took the kitchen knife, the one used for chopping zucchini and green onions, and sliced open the seam of your lover's pillow. Kissed a delicate swan's feather, placed it deep to mingle with the down of unfamiliar geese, then replaced the slashed seam with intricate stitches, pricking your ring finger to leave a scarlet drop on the white pillowcase as you repeated, "He loves me not." Imagine if the last stitch ended on "he loves me not." Then would you believe your mother that a swan's feather sewn into his pillow would ensure fidelity? And what if she was wrong? The last one. What you need to know about eating a lime. It wrinkles your nose, squints your eyes, and like the first taste of beer, you will spew it out even as pulp clings hidden under your tongue. You must remember not to squeeze the juice into your sleeping lover's open mouth. Instead, chop a scarlet tomato and a potent onion, the kind that stings your eyes, Mince garlic cloves, jalapeno peppers, be careful not to rub your tears. Cut the lime in half, squeeze until juice drips from your fingers into the bowl. Add salt, pepper, and mounds of fragrant chopped cilantro. Mix and chill. Your fingers will smell of onion and hands burn from the heat of flaming hot peppers. You wait for your man. Cool your fingertips in a frozen margarita, lime with a salted edge. Stan Getz and Joan Gilberto's Sambo haunts empty spaces. You fear that next time limes, tequila, salsa, tortillas, and avocados crushed will not bring your lover back.
A couple poems from my first book, Disability Isn't Sexy, just because some of you may not have heard these yet. I'll read the title poem called Disability Isn't Sexy. It is showing up at your boyfriend's office wearing nothing but brightly colored sneakers. The left one built up 1.5 inches to improve your gait, and a trench coat. Your flowered cane is propped against the wall because you need both hands to unbutton the coat, reveal your naked body, matching tangles of scars at the hips, raised blooms to set off pale, freckled skin. It is being unable to grab your lover's hand, walk side by side to your apartment door. Holding hands, the physical connection of his fingers covering yours turns violent. Limping tosses your body away from his. Now the purpose of his grasp is to keep you upright, on equal footing. It is equipment. If it weren't for the blue four-wheeled walker, complete with black plastic seat in case you tire, and your bouquet of multicolored canes, you would have been able to fit a king-size bed. When he enters the bedroom, the red scarf you've draped over the lamp doesn't fool him. He tells you it still looks like a hospital room. When you display your naked body across the quilt, he tells you it still feels like he's bedding someone's grandmother. In my plan for life, there is a man who would pick up the spider, place it in the grass outside our sliding glass door. The spider is frightening. The man allows it to crawl onto his thick finger, its flimsy legs unsure of the world ground in which it finds itself. In this actual bathroom, where the yellow shower curtain is meant to imitate natural light, I use the tip of my silver blue cane to kill the small black spider scaling the wall. I smash it with molded rubber. The mangled body falls to the floor. I could have let the spider live. In this cramped room with artificial light, I am a single woman, my disfigured hips singling me out. Crushing the spider feels inevitable, flushing its broken body, a reminder ugly must not stay. And then this last poem that I'll read from that book is called Things to Do in the Belly of Albergatti's Whale. There's a poem by someone named Dan Albergatti about things to do inside of a whale. So this is like after that. Smell the breath of the whale. Notes of flesh and seaweed. Create prints where your shoes push into his fishy innards. Be assured that freckles on your arms and chest haven't faded. Wash dishes. Read the books you've read over and over. Notice how the dimness of this belly allows the words to hover over the page. Listen to Prince. Know his let's go crazy must be held for later. Paint your nails the same blue as the water this whale swallows. Double check all the locks. Make sure you are safe. Try not to cry. Look forward to the soft skin you will inevitably have after surviving this moist place. Write on yellow sticky notes throughout the muscled hallway of this whale's throat. Teach him to speak your words out into a crowded sea. And then I'll read some now from my second book. I don't know if you'll ever fall in love. What I really mean is, I'm not sure anyone will fall in love with you. No matter how you stand amongst swirling desire, love will not land on your shoulder, its bright wings fluttering near your ear. It's not that you don't try. It's not that you don't keep passion at your fingertips to lure what you desire. It is the frequency of your yen for love is so high, the hum so electric. Stun isn't quite the right word. You stupefy their senses. I do not have time to sit and fold construction paper into origami boxes where I would place my fingernail clippings, then leave them in my beloved's briefcase. Force contemplation of my DNA. My presence, even as he explains spreadsheets and graphs, distribution. I need a lover who dips my fingertips in black ink, prints my whirls onto the inside of his wrist, thrills in knowing he is marked as mine. If I am smudged or washed into the bathroom sink, he will send me a text. Do not forget to pick up ink. It is when my beloved brushes away the flakes of dry skin I leave behind on his fully moisturized lips, I finally reveal to him the white ceramic heart-shaped box I keep in the bottom drawer of the gold-flecked bathroom vanity. I tell him how I spend 15 minutes every day exfoliating my lips with a soft toothbrush, a tissue laid out before me like a placemat to catch DNA-laden slivers of skin from my mouth to collect in the felt-bottomed container. I tell him how I use this stash to line his briefcase and the underside of his paisley tie, sprinkle myself into each of his days. I'm afraid this will frighten him, that all day he will check his clothes for traces of me, itch at the thought of my lingering even during important budget meetings, like tenacious lice on the family dog. I beg him to forgive me, to understand that my love for him has grown so unwieldy, I must break it apart. Find somewhere else to keep them other than my heart. And then this is the title poem from this book. It's called I May Never Be Able to Stop Writing Love Poems. I may never be able to stop writing love poems, even if you demand it of me. Even if you have sealed your mail slot with duct tape, snuck into my bedroom, and deleted your number and address from my iPhone. Bought up all the postage stamps from the grocery store 2 blocks from my apartment. Disabled comments for all your social media accounts. Even if you no longer love me, I would want to write anything but a love poem. My fingers, though, are used to you. The tips turn purple, ache with an unnerving tickle, relieved only when I write poems and mail them to a private P.O. box. I tear the envelopes open right there in the lobby, pull out reams of U-shaped paper dolls, weep. I have come to think of myself as a set of nesting dolls. Slightly different freckled faces hand-painted onto 7 colorful buxom bodies, each smaller than the last, culminating in a tiny baby wrapped in blue. It is this doll people assume was made first, and my ever-expanding bodies offer protection. Brightly colored wooden defenses meant to distract, so most men think that's all there is, the azure treasure assumed not to exist. But no, it is the largest me-shaped doll that came first. My ever-shrinking selves, evidence of distillation. When the worthiest beloved catches sight of me, his right eye will twitch in anticipation of opening me over and over, of discovering the final exquisite blue nugget at my center. I just got 2 more from here. Obviously, I was on a kick about dolls, because this is another poem about dolls. I spend most nights making chains of little dolls out of folded construction paper, drawing a woman in a triangle-shaped skirt on the top layer, cutting her out, and unfolding a neat roll of duplicates. I make sure to give each set of dolls a deformity of some kind. One leg shorter than the other, a misshapen head. When my beloved opens the top dresser drawer and discovers them, hundreds of them, he will brush his firm thumb over each doll's disability, touching her with the same tenderness he uses to trace the lumpy scars of my left hip. That night, each doll will try to dream herself whole, his touch almost convincing her she could be loved. The blood that flows from atrium to ventricle out into organs and extremities depends on the fist-sized heart to beat nearly 100,000 times a day. I lay my head on your chest so I can count your thumping with chubby fingers, learning your exact rhythm. I write you love letters on music notation paper, sending them to my own address, where I collect them in a 3-ring binder. After we separate for the last time, I complain to my doctor of a racing heart, and she sets me up with a monitor taped to me for 2 weeks. As I fall asleep, I feel a flutter that reminds me of you. I am told the palpitations are caused by an occasional missed heartbeat, which is normal. Now I go to bed and hold my breath, a tiny deprivation to help me remember your absence. This poem is written after a poem in a book that I read this summer, and I just loved it so much I had to write my own version of it. It's called Postcard to Amy. I am writing in a garden where I know you could identify and name each flower. There are fires in Canada sending smoke all the way to northern Minnesota. It is as if there is a low, dense fog covering the entire city, a thick layer of ash. Everyone is driving with their headlights on in the middle of the day. I can't see to the other side of the lake. When you were last here, I wrote a poem about how you and your husband looked so in love with one another as you sat side by side in separate chairs. Now, I wonder about the poet's compulsion to name things, to differentiate between the larkspur and the delphidium, the ranunculus and the rose. I want you to know that the segmented cactus in my living room is blooming with tiered fuchsia blossoms. I wrote to you because I have forgotten how to write poems and knew you would remind me. The African violet in my dining room has a single purple flower, and I just had to tell somebody that despite my inability to think in metaphors and images, some things have grown. And then there's a couple poems that are just kind of like about, or there's just one, I think, about like dating in the 21st century and like how awkward it is. My therapist tells me that when she was dating her husband, there were no cell phones and messages could only be left on bulky answering machines. I think of all the ways I can contact my beloved. Phone, text, WhatsApp, Facebook, FaceTime, email. And yet there are times I can't reach him, and it makes me anxious. A caged dog missing its master. I whine, pace, and get excited when I think a ding on my phone is from him. I sleep with my phone on the pillow next to me. He now tells me that he needs time, 2 months to be exact. I turn up the volume on my TV so I can't hear the bright blue silence of my pink-cased iPhone. When he doesn't make his nightly 10:30 call after work, I hide the phone in my night table drawer so I won't be awakened by the blaring black screen. After only 1 week, I call the man I love over and over. I miss his deep, certain voice and the way it enters my ears at a particular angle, causing a pleasant, full-body shuddering. He doesn't answer. His voicemail is full. This poem is like self-explanatory. I read about these elephants that were like walking across China, and I just was like fascinated, so I had to read all about it. Sense of direction. There is a herd of 15 elephants that have been marching north across China for over a year now. No one knows why. Experts can't predict where and when they will stop. Scientists think it has to do with human activity, the decrease and fragmentation of the rainforests. Government officials divert them away from more populated areas with truckloads of corn and pineapples. I have spent my life not knowing north and south, east and west. When we are driving the dirt roads near her cabin, my mother likes to stop and ask me which way will bring us home. I never know the answer. It was reported today that the elephants are now heading back in the direction they came from. Drones have photographed them lying down in a forest, resting after traveling nearly 300 miles. I think about riding the Greyhound from Bemidji to Minneapolis. 216 miles of paying no attention to whether we turn left or right, whether we take this highway or that one. I've read that these pachyderms mourn their dead, examining bones with their trunks and emitting low groans and high-pitched screams. They also cry and bury the bodies of their family and friends. 2 separate herds of wild elephants traveled 12 miles to stand vigil outside a well-known conservationist house for 2 whole days before retreating into the bush. Before cell phones, I once called my mother from a payphone because I was lost in a small town we visited hundreds of times in my childhood. She was with family, and I begged her not to tell anyone. Do elephants have a sense of home and attachment to place? Do their hearts beat faster or their trunks begin to ache with cramped and folded excitement the closer they get to home? I cry when the bus takes the curve on I-94 and the city skyline suddenly appears, as if the woman beside me has conjured it with her knitting, taken a skein of purple yarn and stitched the silhouette of home. And this last poem is a poem I wrote for my friend Christy and her husband Tommy, because they go kayaking in the summer. So, how marriage works. My best friend posts pictures of her and her husband kayaking Twin Cities lakes. They see so many birds: ducks, egrets, geese, American coots, blackbirds, and one great blue heron on a late summer night. On their way down to the water, he always walks ahead, pulling their navy blue kayak and bright red life vest behind him like a little boy dragging his freshly cleaned blanket through dirt and grass. She always rides in the front, her large red sunglasses on top of her head, and he in the back. They row their oars on opposite sides of the boat, gliding across the lake in a straight line. This is how I know a marriage works, and that it sounds like the flapping of wings. Thank you.